Another secret weapon I'd like Pete to tell us a bit about is using the conditions. So I'm talking about your equipment, maybe the surface that you're playing on at the time, and maybe also using the wind. The wind, obviously, whether it's swirly, whether it's a consistent wind.
Yeah, look, we touched on it earlier with the segment with attitude and performance. So with the wind, you got to use it as your friend. That's one thing I reiterate for sure. You've got to use it as your friend, not your enemy. Shaping the ball accordingly, depending whether you're hitting into the breeze or against it, and either crossways from left to right or right to left. So they're things you've got to be aware of. And it sometimes just comes back to awareness. It can be the slightest of breeze, where to throw a lob up, which way do I hit it a bit harder, a bit deeper, which way do I hit a little bit higher, and so forth. So in using that, slice is a very good shot to use in the wind. It keeps the ball nice and low from both sides, and can push your opponent around, bring your opponent forward into an uncomfortable position to then expose a little bit more of the weakness, be it on the forehand or backhand side. We talk about the surface. Well, surface is a great thing. So many things can work to your advantage in the way you play, style of play. A slice, again, is a great shot to play on all surfaces. Be on clay, a slice deep can work, but a short slice is actually a little bit better because the ball's going to stay low and die. And you see a lot of clay courters on TV playing and where have you, they're 2 and 3 metres behind the baseline. So all of a sudden now they're having to come up to a foreign position or an uncomfortable position, and they're having to play up first to get up over the net. So,
and the court's shorter.
Well, the court's shorter, but then if they don't play a good enough shot, then they're out of their comfort zone, so to speak. So that's always an important shot. I've seen some matches where the guy comes into the net and plays the volley nice and deep. Well, that's straight in their hitting zone. The guy runs across and it's in the hitting zone. He makes an easy pass. Now we're seeing a few more guys be a bit more aware of it. They're playing shorter angled volleys, and that again, the opponent can run it down, but all of a sudden they're in a very foreign sort of location on the court. So that's a big one. On the grass it works well. Slice again, short slice, stays low, skids through. Generally second bounces for the opponents. If it's not hit well enough, then you can find yourself in a little bit of spot of bother. So you've got to be very precise with the way you slice the ball and where it is positioned on the court. You talk about equipment. Equipment comes back to stringing tension. You may play in dampness, wet clay. Instead of having your racket strung at a tight tension, you should ease off. It could be up to 5, even 10 pound difference because the balls are getting heavier, and as they get heavier, they're getting bigger. And if you've got the
really tight strings, the ball's just going to die off your racket.
Well, it's just such a more effort to get through, and you're going to come out of there with a very sore elbow, a very sore shoulder, and that's only if you're backing up the next day because you're having to put a lot more effort in for such a less or minimal result. Sure, the balls fly off the racket a little bit more with the loose strings, but you've got to learn to be able to control that. So even in practice with a couple of loose stringed rackets to understand the difference between the tensions and what you need to do to be able to get the result you want.
What about shoes?
Yeah, look, shoes are very important too. You have the grass court shoes, which have the dimples or the nipples on the bottom of them. They were used a lot on clay courts. They are not allowed to anymore, unfortunately, but that was just a very good gripping shoe. For obviously the grass, but then the clay as well. You got your general hard court shoes, which basically are, well, it's not a cross trainer, but it's a shoe that is compatible to most surfaces, but it's probably not the right shoe to wear on the grass or on the clay because it's just doesn't have enough grip. So herringbone sole on the clay court shoes I believe is a must, and that pretty much sums it all up.
Okay.